Imagine waking up one day and realizing that your entire life is a lie. That's what happened to Natsu. In a world where magic flows as freely as the air we breathe, Natsu, a fiery dragon slayer, found himself facing an unthinkable truth. His life, his adventures, his battles, all were no more than a scripted performance, a puppet show for the amusement of unseen spectators. The initial shock of this revelation was like a punch to the gut, leaving him winded and disoriented. Then came the creeping horror, a cold dread that seeped into his very core. As the realization took hold, he could feel the fabric of reality shifting, bending to his will. His emotions, raw and powerful, became a force that could shape the world around him. The lines between illusion and reality blurred, and Natsu's powers began to take on a terrifying new form. And with this horrifying revelation, Natsu's world began to crumble. As the truth sank in, Natsu's rage grew. The fairy tale guild, his family, was his first target. Gone was the fiery warmth that once defined Natsu. In its place, a chilling coldness took root. His new powers, a gift from the harsh reality he now understood, were not used for good. Instead, they became a tool for his vengeance. Natsu's actions were methodical, cold, and disturbingly calm. The guild members, his former comrades, were mere puppets in his cruel show. He began with the lower ranks, those who were the easiest to manipulate. Their confusion and fear were palpable as they fell, one by one. Each act was more brutal than the last. Natsu was not just breaking their bodies, but their spirits as well. The guild hall once echoed with laughter and camaraderie, but now only screams and pleas for mercy filled the air. The higher-ranked members were next. His fights with them were less physical, more psychological. He toyed with them, twisted their minds, and made them question their realities. It was a sickening display of power, a testament to just how far Natsu had fallen. His lover Lucy and his rival Gray were not spared. Each met a fate befitting their relationship with Natsu. Lucy, the light of his life, was forced to endure the darkness he now embodied. Gray, his constant adversary, was subjected to a battle that tested not just his physical prowess, but his mental strength as well. The last to fall was the guildmaster. The man who had been a father figure to Natsu was met with a fate worse than death. He was forced to watch as his guild, his family, was torn apart by one of their own. Natsu's smile throughout this ordeal was nothing short of creepy. It was not one of joy or satisfaction. Rather, it was a grim reminder of the monster he had become. And so, the fairy tale guild fell, one by one, to one of their own. Lucy, Natsu's lover, was the hardest hit by his transformation. The once warm and comforting bond they shared had turned into an icy chasm of distance. Natsu, once a fervent protector and companion, was now a cold, detached entity. His once jovial eyes were now devoid of any warmth, replaced by a chilling glint that sent shivers down Lucy's spine. Lucy was a beacon of hope in Natsu's life, a symbol of affection and companionship. But now, she was nothing more than a pawn in his twisted game of life and death. Natsu toyed with her emotions, manipulating her with the memories of their past, exploiting her affection for him. He reveled in her despair, her confusion, her heartache. It was a cruel game, a dance of love and betrayal, orchestrated by Natsu, the puppet master. The once fiery dragon slayer, who had always been Lucy's rock, was now her tormentor. He spun a web of deception around her, trapping her in a maze of his own making. Lucy was lost, caught between her love for Natsu and the monster he had become. She was a moth drawn to the flame, unable to escape the destructive allure of Natsu's newfound power. And then, in a moment of chilling clarity, it ended. Lucy's life was extinguished as casually as one might snuff out a candle. Natsu looked down at her lifeless body, his face devoid of any emotion. His once passionate eyes were replaced by a disturbingly serene smile. It was a smile that didn't reach his eyes, a smile that was far too calm for the gruesome scene that lay before him. The world around him was falling apart. His friends were gone, and now, so was his lover. But Natsu, the once fiery dragon slayer, was unfazed. He was the puppet master, controlling the strings of life and death with an eerily calm demeanor. In the end, not even love could save Lucy from Natsu's wrath. His chilling smile lingered, a haunting reminder of the love that was, and the horror that now reigned. With the guild destroyed and Lucy gone, only one person stood in Natsu's way, the guildmaster. In the chilling silence that followed the fall, a confrontation of epic proportions loomed. The guildmaster, once a figure of authority and respect, now stood before Natsu, powerless and afraid. He was a man trying to reason with a force he could not comprehend, a force that was once his own pupil. The guildmaster's voice echoed through the emptiness, pleading, bargaining, desperately trying to find a shred of the Natsu he once knew. But his words fell on deaf ears. Natsu, now a puppeteer of reality, had no need for reason. He had been played, manipulated, his life nothing more than a grotesque performance. Now, he was the one pulling the strings. The guildmaster's desperate pleas turned into terrified screams as Natsu advanced, his eyes glowing with an eerie light. The air crackled with raw, uncontained power, a terrifying testament to Natsu's newfound abilities. He was no longer just Natsu, the fire-breathing wizard. He was a being of unimaginable power, a puppet master in a world that had been his stage. In the face of his impending doom, the guildmaster's futile resistance crumbled. His final plea was cut short as Natsu, with a flick of his wrist, silenced him forever. The once bustling guild was now a graveyard, a monument to Natsu's wrath and his grim triumph over those who had made him their plaything. As the last echo of the guildmaster's voice faded away, a chilling satisfaction spread across Natsu's face. His creepy smile was a grotesque mirror of the joy he once felt in the guild, a twisted reflection of the camaraderie that was now just a bitter memory. And with that, Natsu stood alone, the master of his own twisted reality. The world was his stage, and its people his puppets. The puppeteer had finally seized control, and his reign was just beginning. With no one left to oppose him, Natsu turned his attention to the world at large. A puppet master with strings attached to every corner of the globe, he began to pull at the threads of reality itself. The world and its inhabitants became playthings in his hands, mere puppets dancing to his whims. People, once bustling with life and vibrancy, now moved with a mechanical stiffness, their wills bent to Natsu's command. Cities, once filled with noise and chaos, were now eerily quiet, save for the sound of Natsu's laughter echoing through the streets. His powers, once used to protect, became tools of manipulation and control. He could raise mountains with a flick of his wrist or summon tsunamis with a mere thought. The world was his canvas, and he painted it with the colors of fear and chaos. Yet amidst all this turmoil, Natsu remained detached, watching the world crumble from his throne. There was a chilling calmness in his eyes, a stark contrast to the world in disarray. His smile, once warm and inviting, now held a twisted delight. It was the smile of a man who reveled in the destruction he brought, a man who had lost all semblance of humanity. The world watched in horror as Natsu played his cruel games. They saw their loved ones manipulated like marionettes, their homes destroyed in the blink of an eye, their lives reduced to mere spectacles for Natsu's amusement. Yet they were helpless, mere spectators in the grand show Natsu orchestrated. As the puppet strings tightened, so did the grip of fear. Despair spread like wildfire, consuming everything in its path. People prayed for a miracle, for a hero to rise from the ashes and challenge the puppeteer. But their prayers fell on deaf ears, swallowed by the darkness that Natsu had cast over the world. In the end, Natsu had become the puppet master, and the world his stage. As the horror unfolded, one thing became clear. Natsu was no longer the hero we knew. This was a metamorphosis most grotesque. A beloved champion of justice twisted into a nightmarish puppeteer. His once vibrant eyes now glinted with a cold, ruthless gleam, his laughter echoing like a dirge in our ears. He who once braved the fiercest of foes to protect us was now the very terror we feared. His transformation was not a sudden shift, but a slow, chilling descent into madness. His newfound reality-altering powers, once a beacon of hope, became tools of destruction. His joyous antics turned into a macabre spectacle. His friends, mere marionettes in his cruel show. The world was his stage, its inhabitants, his playthings, his every action a chilling reminder of the hero he once was and the monster he had become. And so we are left with a chilling reminder. Even heroes can fall, and when they do, the world trembles.